Are you looking to capture the serene beauty of a snowy winter landscape in watercolor? In this video, I will show you how with a few simple techniques you can create a stunning piece that will evoke the feeling of a winter wonderland. Many artists struggle with painting snow in watercolor because it can be difficult to achieve the right consistency and texture. It's also easy to end up with a flat and uninteresting painting if the techniques are not applied correctly. Here are some tips to help you create a successful snowy winter landscape in watercolor. I give more detailed advice along the way, and for complete tutorials on my watercolor painting, see my Patreon page in the description. After the pencil sketch is done, start with pre-wetting the paper where the background is. We need soft edges in the sky and faraway mountains. We should fill it in one go. I imagined this landscape with clouds, so gray wash for the sky. You can add a bit of variety to it by adding some other cloud colors. We should add some cool green to the mixture, implying pine forest covering the mountain. I moved down to the closer mountain with its forest, using just a little more pigment in the wash. Here I start playing with colors more, adding some other shades of green, brown, and some blue, because it is still a distant forest. Along the whole process, I use water to create a texture effect for the snow. I sprinkle water on the still wet paint. The trick is to sprinkle not too much so there are no puddles, just little drops. Then allow this wash to dry completely. The depth is created by using different consistency of paint. Keep in mind that background should be more transparent and light. The foreground and the area of focus should include the darkest and the lightest areas of the painting, creating contrast and thus leading the eye to the area of interest. For these middle ground trees, I start implying the detail. I splay the brush all the time to be able to create some random patterns of the branches. I use any object with a thin hard edge to imply trunks of the trees by simply dragging it while gently pressing in the areas where I need those trunks and branches. The paint there must be still wet. And during the whole process, again, don't forget to play around with colors, add some variety. The river and the foreground trees are the darkest objects, so I load my brush with paint full of pigment. Painting the river, I leave out some white spaces to imply the eyes on the river. And don't forget to sprinkle some water. It creates really nice effects that remind me of some ice underwater. The area closest to the viewer shouldn't have the highest contrast of the painting. The highest contrast is usually a little further away, so I try to imply some shades and shadows in the snow the closest to us. These trees closest to us and the river are my area of interest, so I spend more time putting details in it. And again, don't forget to splay the brush to create random patterns for many branches. Add the effect of falling snow by simply loading your brush with opaque white paint and dripping it by gently tapping the brush against another brush. You can also sprinkle it using your finger. Try the techniques first on a separate piece of paper to see how it goes. And to finish, use white paint to add some snow on top of some branches and where the branches connect. Don't overdo it. With these techniques in mind, you can create a beautiful and realistic snowy winter landscape in watercolor. So grab your paints and give it a try. Let your imagination run wild and don't be afraid to experiment with different colors and textures. Happy painting, and this is why you are amazing.